Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing the Luminar lights from Harbor Freight, talk about different uses along with a review and a comparison as well. Let's get started. So as you can see before me is I got two different sets. I got the original ones that we mostly saw back in the 90s, maybe even earlier. Then I also have the LED ones. When I went into this, I looked at many different types of reviews, and before I pulled the trigger, I wanted to make sure that I had a stand. I wanted a stand, and then if I looked on Harbor Freight, I looked on Home Depot, I looked at Lowe's, looked at all these different ones, and when it came to the stand, they either sold it separately or it was super expensive. So, me thinking with a good idea, I was like, well, I can go down to Harbor Freight. This thing was like 40 bucks if I remember, maybe even less. I'll look back. I can get the whole light set for a fraction of the price than if I were to just buy the stand. So if I just buy the stand or buy this light set, I already have a stand. So if I really wanted to, I could just configure it so I could have the LEDs attached to it. Money saving. That's what we're all doing. But before we get into that too far, let's start going into the different types of uses that we use these lights for. First off, general mechanics, working under the hood. Second is just doing random workshop, doing stuff around garage and everything. Just give us a little bit of additional lights because we all know that our kids are excellent at pointing the light where we need to be. Also, if you're under a budget, much like you're probably watching this video, sometimes you just want to get ready for the holiday vacation. You can do that by just a redneck tan using these guys right here. Or maybe you have a rodent issue. So if you're anything like me, you know that when it comes to your lawn and everything, you have issues with rodents. You can never find them. Well, I'm about to throw you the tip on exactly how to catch them.
So my husband is convinced that we have a rodent problem in our backyard. And our light isn't sufficient enough. So we have this thing, this new light. See if we can catch some rodents tonight.
Or maybe you find yourself hosting a barbecue in the middle of a pandemic for your family and everything. Then later realizing that you no longer own a grill. All right, who's hungry? Now, nobody goes into something with a blind eye, unless sometimes you do, just didn't think about it. So I did do a little bit of homework before I pulled the trigger on. These things are going to be your typical lights. I've had them in the past when I was growing up. You can leave them outside, you can beat the crap out of them, stuff like that, just throw them in the shed or whatever. The only thing you have to be mindful of is the lenses, or not the lenses, but the bulbs inside, they break easy. Good thing is, you just go back down to Harbor Freight, pick up some cheap ones and put them back in. Just be mindful that these things are extremely hot, so take your time before you replace the lens or they will give you third-degree burns. Over here, I have noticed that these things do get a little bit warm as well, but when I was looking at the reviews, they were talking about how the cord is short. They're not that long of a cord, but one of the reviews I did see was the guy was constantly complaining about how the cord was so short that every time he hit it, the thing would just fall off of whatever he thinks, or whatever he had. And I was like, man, what an idiot. Literally within the first 5 minutes of owning this thing, I've dropped this thing twice. So durability is there. You just gotta be mindful that the cord is heavier than the light, and that's the reason why they fall so easily. But if they were attached to an implement like this, where they are mounted to a stand, shouldn't be much of an issue. So you might be asking, okay, so how bright are they? Well, let's go ahead and take a field trip to one of my training areas to figure out how much candle power is associated with these lights. What? These things are expensive. Yankee candles are expensive. Listen up, fellers. If your girl's got more than 5 of these around the house, just know that that drill that you've been wanting has been replaced by a puddle of wax. But what good is a review with nothing to compare it to? Obviously, I could compare these two, but they're gonna be night and day. It's like one's gonna be much brighter than the other. They're just gonna give a different lue or a different tone on exactly what type of light they put out. This is gonna be a little bit darker, where this is gonna be much brighter, much like the lights I have above me. But I did look into different types of lights. I bought the Husky lights. Not to say that I don't have any other Husky products, but that didn't work out for me. I literally owned that. I looked at that Husky light for probably at least a year. Every day I go into Lowe's and look at it and I'm like, should I pull the trigger or not? So finally I pulled the trigger and brought it home. I literally had this thing probably for 5 minutes and the quality just wasn't there. It literally looked like, when it came to the switch for turning the power on to the lights, it looked like some child's toy and they just took like a hot glue gun and just like glued it to the backside. This is a much more capable switch on these than it was on that, and this is also waterproof. Then also it came down to the stand. The stand was less sturdy than President Biden trying to walk up. Sorry, what about less sturdy than 2005 Britney Spears? I guess what I'm trying to say is the stand wasn't sturdy. Like, it was flimsy. It didn't have locking mechanisms much like this. It's a twist and lock type of mechanism that goes into different types of implements. So you can make it longer or shorter depending on how you want to do it. And then also with the stand, it's just much more sturdy. Like, come on, Husky, get on your stuff. So a simple pull out, and then up here, even though it's just a simple knob right there, you can just unfasten or loosen it up, tighten it up, depending on how you want it to go. And then, of course, I have it tight for storage. So I'm gonna loosen it up, drop it down, depending on what height I want. It also has, I mean, they're cheap rubber, but I don't know, the Husky didn't have any of this. Let's see how much height I can get out of this thing, because I'm 5'4", so you can do a comparison on that. But loosen it all the way up, pull it out. Same with this end. So I'm 5'4". I'd say that's pretty good. Then it easily attaches on this bracket right here to the rest of the fixture, which is this guy. So just a couple bolts on the bottom, bolted in. I did notice with these guys is this plastic, obviously once it warms up, it just kind of falls down by itself every once in a while, but just tighten it back up, grab a screwdriver, whatever. I also noticed that there is little notches. Where's the notch on this one? Right. So this notch right here, I already bent it in a little bit, but it prevents the light from falling all the way down to like a 90-degree angle. Sometimes you like that sometimes, but sometimes I want to just feel all that heat or get that light where I want it to be. So I just bent it in a little bit so I could drop it just a little bit further. Now for the light switches, waterproof case. It's probably not like the most durable, but hey, 40 bucks off our freight. Why are you gonna go into that much detail? But it seems like if it really came down to it, you could get replacement parts. It looks like this just unscrews, and then you could just replace it. I like it when stuff is able to be replaced rather than you having to buy a whole new fixture or a whole new light. It's much cheaper that way. Nice grill in the front. Glass is just regular glass, so at some point something's gonna hit it and crack it or whatever, but they have replacement parts they can just get. So push that off to the side. I like this one. I actually use this more than I use these guys. These guys are bright. It's pretty much got the same setup for the switches and everything. And then It's more of a plastic in the front, so you don't really have to worry about breaking it as easy. And then let's go ahead and turn this on. I should have grabbed an extension cord before I started this. 1 light, 2 lights. Hopefully that goddess doesn't come back and get me. All right, so that's a small one. So you can see the difference between them all. Obviously, when you bring them back to your place, you'll see the difference more interactive. All right, let's get the lights back on. So the only one that's really different is this big guy. The switch is a little bit different compared to the other ones, but so this is the switch on this guy. Still waterproof barrier and everything. Just more assembled than the Husky products, which they really let me down. So I'd say that's just about it for the review. If you got anything out of this, please give me a thumbs up. It keeps up the motivation of me keeping to push out these videos. And then if you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments. I'll be sure to answer them. I have the products already, so it doesn't really make sense for you to buy them and try and figure this out on your own, then having to potentially go back. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.